Welcome to Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. On this podcast, we bring the conversation to you, sharing engaging stories that motivate and build consensus in the nonprofit community. This podcast is about the innovators, the leaders on the front lines of adversity, guiding lights in the nonprofit industry affecting change. And through their stories, we can all join forces to become Civic Warriors. Hey Warriors, welcome to today's episode of Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. I'm your host, Brad Caruso, leader of Witham's not-for-profit practice. Today's guest is Carlos Vasquez, CEO of Food Allergy Science Initiative, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. FASI's mission is to accelerate the development of breakthrough discoveries that will transform the lives of people living with food allergies. You know, many people in the U.S. and worldwide experience the effects of food allergies. In just a short time, FASI has made tremendous progress, pioneering important new discoveries, attracting talented researchers, facilitating scientific and public outreach, and nurturing the food allergy community. FASI is a multifaceted initiative that spans world-class labs across the United States. So with all that said, and I've had the pleasure of working with the Food Allergy Science Initiative for many years now, and with Carlos specifically. So with all that said, Carlos, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Brad. It's a real honor to be here. Always fun to talk to you and have the opportunity to have a chat and discuss today.
Love it. I'm really excited to talk about some of the great things you're doing, as well as just the expansion of the program and expansion of all the work in the recent couple of years. So, Carlos, what I always like to start with, and we'll start here, is can you share a little bit of a background on yourself and how you arrived over at FASI? Yeah,
well, Brad, I grew up in a humble but hardworking family in Puerto Rico, and I think thanks to and as the experience I had with my uncle, ended up being the first one to pursue graduate education in my family. I ended up, long story short, doing a PhD in biological chemistry at MIT. And I also did a postdoctoral fellowship in bioengineering at MIT. And ended up, after that, joining the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, where my goal was and my focus have been developing new technologies, and discovering new therapies and developing them to support the health of different people, especially across many different disorders. So that's a little bit about my last 20 years trying to develop therapies and solutions for people in need.
Love it. And maybe elaborate a little bit more. You kind of brushed it over a little bit, but tell me about your experience with your uncle that kind of drove you to the passion that you're in today.
Funny. I think I'm glad I studied science, because I was useless for everything else, especially mechanics. My uncle was a mechanic. He had a shop in his house. So I would come almost every weekend just to play with my cousin. And he would actually make us go and help him with the cars before we could play. That was the rule. And so I hated it. I was really bad at it. And I remember one day, I was probably like 10, 11 years old. I was helping him and my cousin. And it was in the middle of the day in Puerto Rico. It was like 100 degrees under the sun. And I'm there, and I think I was trying to unlock something, and I slipped. And I cut my hand, and I was bleeding, and it was full of grease and all that. And he saw me complaining, and he came to me and he said, there's two options for you in life. One is you're going to learn how to do this so that you don't pay people to do this, and, you can save some money in the future. Or if you don't really like this, then go study hard so that you can pay somebody else to do it for you. I'm like, wow, I like that solution, because I really don't like this. And so from that point on, I actually had a better appreciation for education, and probably one of the motivation in the back of my mind up throughout the time to say, hey, let me go study hard. I really shouldn't be doing any mechanics. I'm not good at it. So let me go do something different.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love personal stories. And I also love just hearing how those like little anecdotes that you receive along the way that you never forget, how they literally change the course of your life.
Absolutely. Little things that can have an impact.
Little things that have an impact. Yeah. My own self through the fire company, I side with number two. You can't be good at everything, and you have to pick and choose what you're good at and where you're going to dedicate your time. And sometimes, you do have to pay somebody to help out with different things. And I love that you took that anecdote and that drove you to the profession you're in today. And obviously, also you said it pretty quickly, but just reiterating, getting a PhD from MIT is no easy endeavor.
I still thank my uncle for that, and
love it.
Put it in perspective for me. So
yeah, love it. So obviously being the CEO of Food Allergy Science Initiative and growing that operation, what makes you passionate about the mission of FOSSI?
Well, I think there was a convergence. So my passion in life has been to help find solutions for people in need, right? And develop either new technologies or therapies that can transform how people manage the disease. I think when I was a kid, I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to be a physician. And then I quickly realized that, as a physician, I could probably help thousands of people, which was great. But as a drug developer and developing new therapies, I could actually help millions of people manage their disease. So that was a passion of mine. And then that passion aligned very well with FOSSI and many things. So number one is the unmet need. There's 33 million people in the United States living with food allergies. Insane, 33 million people. Not that many diseases have 33 million people living in the US with the disease. There's about 3 million cases a year that end up in the emergency room because of an anaphylactic reaction. And every year, unfortunately, we're still having deaths from anaphylactic reactions. And there's only 2 drugs approved by the FDA for food allergies. So that's number one, is the unmet need. The second thing was really the people. I think the heroes here in this entire equation are our founders, who in 2016, these are families that courageous individuals that decided to turn adversity into action. They realized that there was a big need. The science was not well understood of food allergies. Funding was limited in food allergies. And the answers they were getting were not satisfied with that. So they decided to roll up their sleeves and attack the problem head on and say, well, we got to do it. If we build it, others will come. Let's put in our resources. Let's put our energy. People that didn't have to do this, but they decided to do it. And they still actually very committed to fighting this battle. So the first was the unmet need. The second was really the people, having committed individuals that really want to fight a battle, and you want to join that battle with them. That's highly motivating. And then the third piece is the approach and the science. So FOSSI has been building something that, at least in my mind, is very different than what it's out there, what was out there in 2016, what is still out there. Which the idea was, the principle behind it was, if you are really going to try to tackle this disorder and you want to cure the disease, you need to understand it first, right? Because otherwise you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall. The idea being, if you understand the disease, then now you can cure it. And so FOSSI, over the last 10 years, that's what FOSSI decided to do, was let's bring in the experts, the best people, the best minds in the field, and outside of the field of food allergies, people from diverse fields of like neurology, neuroscience, gastroenterology, immunology, microbiology, chemistry, put them together in a different way, in a highly collaborative way, to work together to actually be able to propel the science. And that model has worked very well. FOSSI has now, these investigators have now generated over 145 discoveries, et cetera. So the approach and the science, FOSSI has been doing that. And really thanks to our founders who have been really leading the way for us to be what we are today.
Love it. Yeah. And I know that they invested a significant amount of time, resources, energy into helping this be successful. And they brought in a lot of, individuals who have that same passion to help solve this issue. And even I know, just in working with your team for many years now, I mean, it's always just a top-notch team, a team that always wants to do the best they can do. And, as an auditor, simple anecdotes, or when people say, how can I do this better, always. And it's when you have those calls, I love it because it just gives you opportunity to collaborate. But also, it tells you a lot about the organization, because it tells you they really care about what they're doing, and they always care in everything they do, whether it's debits and credits or whether it's solving a technological breakthrough with a drug discovery, providing research. All of those things, the little things, sometimes tell you a lot about why organizations are successful. And I can tell right away that you've surrounded yourself with great people, your employees, as well as the scientists you work with, as well as the institutions you work with. And it's great to be a part of that. And also love hearing the why, because I think that why is so important, especially for the individual leading the organization. And, you bring that to understanding, bring that home as to why you're trying to solve it's a big issue. It's not something that's just simple. It's not a small issue. It affects 33 million people. I mean, that's a large issue. That's, close to 10% of the population of the United States.
It is a big problem. It's actually 1 in 10 adults So that is close to 50% to your point. It's close to 50% of the population. And it's about 1 in 13 children. So that's about 42%. So it is a big problem. And why FOSSI? I think to your point, the team, our founders, our scientists, our team internally, I always say, it's a small but mighty team. Everyone doing so many things at the same time and just in a very excellent manner. We really strive for that. So no, I'm super excited with who FOSSI is, what we've been able to build, and where we're heading.
Love it. So where I wanted to start off was simple because I'm an accountant by trade. I'm a firefighter by second trade. So I have zero understanding of science in general. And my brain definitely never worked towards science, although I appreciate it and I value it. What is a food allergy? Can you share a little bit with the audience about like when you say the word food allergy and it's an issue, what is a food allergy?
Yeah, actually, great question. And very in the simplest way possible is, food allergy is a immune system reaction that occurs after you eat specific foods and where the body mistakenly identifies the food that you're eating as harmful and wants to get rid of it. And then it causes these symptoms that could really vary from hives to serious life-threatening reactions like anaphylaxis and itch, right? In the most severe cases are really leading to anaphylactic reactions, serious anaphylactic reactions, where your body really needs intervention. And the best intervention that has been there forever, it is really epinephrine. And so it's an immune system reaction. That's a simple term, and it's a reaction to the food that we eat for mistakenly recognizing as something foreign that the body deems harmful. We believe, actually, when you think about it, we have defense mechanisms when you're exposed to something that tries to help you, like actually vomiting, for example, and diarrhea are ways our body is trying to get rid of pathogens and things that are not good for you. And itch, right? You're trying to detach things from your skin. So our scientists actually believe that food allergies, and to look at food allergies in a different way, it is an exacerbated response of those common defense mechanisms that we have to fight pathogens. And therefore, that's why you eat something and you are now reacting by trying to expel those different harmful material that is considered food. So in simple terms, a reaction to common food, mistakenly thinking it's something harmful. And more specifically, what we've learned over the last few years of research, it is what was believed to be a reaction only of the immune system. We've actually now discovered that it's an action of the nervous and the immune system acting together to react to that harmful substance.
I appreciate explaining it in that way because it starts to kind of say like how it affects people, right? And I guess just to add on to that, how does it affect people's day-to-day life?
Well, this is funny, Brad. Before joining FOSSI, I was, as I mentioned, right, I was working developing therapies and technologies for the pharma and biotech. And I started asking around, and many people in the industry told me, well, it's not a big problem. People outgrow it. It's not a big issue. And when you start digging deep into this and now learning more, since we meet a lot of people, it is a huge problem. Not only because anaphylactic reaction that can lead you to the ER, that can actually in some cases can lead to death, but also the impact that it has on the entire family and caregivers around the person that has food allergies. It can transform completely the lives of people, not only the care they need to have, but how sensitive. And parents, sometimes they need to leave their jobs or they are affected the way they work, right? Because they need to take care of someone, be very careful with what they eat and what they're exposed to. We've learned from cases where the person can actually not be in the room anywhere close to the allergen that they're allergic to. And that limits them from, getting outside, being exposed to it, to anything. Now, when kids go to college, right, big transition from a safe environment to now being exposed to living alone and doing the crazy things that most kids do in college. Of course, I have 2 kids, so I know. So it is a very impactful, and especially when you talk to someone that has experienced an anaphylactic reaction, you really know. That's when you really know how tough this can be in families.
I noticed, in a very strange way, my wife is never affected by food allergies, but over time I noticed, she would eat certain things and they would have extreme reactions in different ways where it would affect her. And even in simple ways, it's, if you look at the most simple terms, okay, I can't eat certain foods, but then if I do eat those foods or I'm exposed to them, or as you said, I'm around that, they have an adverse reaction. I think that's where it affects a lot more people than we probably even know of right now, too. Do you know why? Like, do we have an understanding of why people are affected by food allergies? Like, is it something that they develop over time? Is it something that's genetic? Is it something, do we have any understanding of that at the current time?
Great question. So a lot of information, especially from our investigators, have unraveled a lot of new information that help us understand better. And other investigators and many scientists in the world that have now provided more data to support a few hypotheses. So a couple of things we know today. So food allergies are not only genetics, right? Because humans don't change as fast, and food allergies have been growing over 200% increase over the last decade. So genetics don't change that fast. It cannot be only genetics. Some of the things that we're seeing is how our environment and our diet has changed over the last decade. And there's some new data showing some of the chemicals that are in our food system and our food supply has now actually, we're showing that there's activation of some of the similar pathways and some of the similar mechanisms that are involved in the development of food allergies that are triggered by those chemicals. So potentially chemicals in the food and the environment. The other thing that we've learned is that food allergies often, we believe it actually starts on the skin. It's actually not that you ate something for the first time and it was the first time you were exposed to it and you get an anaphylactic reaction, but that instead the skin and the barrier of the skin, especially when the barrier of the skin gets compromised, it now allows for access to some of the allergens that may now start building memory on your system to later on when they are ingested through your mouth, then they can be detected as something bad, something harmful. That is actually where it's something that people have called the front door, back door hypothesis. If you think about it, the front door being the mouth, the back door being the skin. If you have something that enters for the first time to the front door, you recognize it, it's good, no problem. But if it enters to the back door, the skin in this case, now your system may be creating memory to say this is something bad. And once it comes to the front door, you recognize it as something harmful. That's the front door, back door hypothesis. The other thing is the hygiene hypothesis, right? Where we've become more sanitized and typically food allergies are a disease in developed countries. And part of the rationale behind that is that our immune system, there's a part of our immune system that was adapted more in the past, that was used mainly to fight pathogens like worms, for example. And now that we don't have that, then it's now really shifting to attack other things. So that it's more associated with the hygiene hypothesis. We have become too clean. So there's data to support all of this. There's also some genetic components that have been identified, but it's actually not the only reason. So those are probably the main things. So the food system has, and the environment, how it's changed, the skin, compromising the skin, and just being, the hygiene hypothesis being cleaner, if you would.
Sounds like an extraordinarily complex issue. Just hearing it, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of variables that affect it. And there are a lot of things both in the environment as well as in the foods we eat, in the, like you said, environments that we operate in. There's just several things that can trigger it and the body reacts a certain way. It's interesting.
It is really fascinating. From a scientific point of view, that was, as I said, the science was one thing that attracted me that I'm very excited about. Food allergies, for example, along those lines, one of the things that I mentioned is one of the new information that the FOSSI team, FOSSI investigators have bring to this field has been that many of these pathways and these challenges are not only a problem of the immune system, and the nervous system is highly involved. So this is fairly new because in the past, people thought, and that's why I define it as a problem of the immune system. But now we realize, and it's actually cross communication between the nervous and the immune system. And the nervous system is actually highly involved. Our investigators have shown that our immune system is actually involved in creating, sensing those allergens through the skin. That's the first step. For immunologists, if you say this to immunologists, they wouldn't have never thought about this, but now you have data. But more importantly, what has been very revealing is if you think about food allergies, one thing that characterizes food allergies is the speed of the reaction, right? You eat something and you get a fast reaction. And our scientists always thought, well, which of our systems in the body was designed to react quickly? And that's the nervous system, right? You, as a fireman, right? You have a problem and you react quickly and try to solve something. And so it makes a lot of sense what our scientists are now seeing, but it was discovered in the last 10 years through the work that FAST investigators have been doing.
Love it. Love hearing about that. And, adding to that, what are some of the current treatments that exist and how are you approaching this complex issue of food allergies? What is FOSS's approach?
Great question. It is unfortunate that's another reason that it's a big motivation for all the people in our team. It's crazy to think that in 2026, where you have 33 million people living with food allergies and you still have severe anaphylactic reaction, there's only 2 drugs approved by the FDA for food allergies. One of them is a peanut powder designed to desensitize people, where you give the peanut powder in escalating doses through a long period of time, and that helped people being desensitized. If they were exposed originally, they could not even get access to 1 peanut. At the end, they should be able to ingest 10 peanuts, for example. So that is one. Number 2, it is a biologic, an injectable called Xolair. And Xolair is designed to kind of wipe your antibodies that attack your allergens. And so those are the only 2. There are benefits and cons with each therapy, but we're very excited that there's more action in the field. FOSSI, the way we've been thinking about it, and that's why I've been very passionate about this, is don't try to put Band-Aids, right? And let's not shoot for another marginal improvement to standard of care. We want to really battle the disease. So try to do something different that can have a significant impact. That's why we build a team of scientists taking a different approach. That's why we now are starting to take many of the learnings that our scientists have been developing and pulling threads to it and developing therapies that would be highly differentiated. Is what we call our new drug discovery accelerator, which the mission of the drug discovery accelerator is really to take the most exciting and differentiating and the highest potential science and convert those into tangible therapeutic options that, if successful, would dramatically change how people can manage the disease. And so that's what FOSSI is doing about it, is taking the best science and now really putting it into tangible, specific therapeutic options to attack the disease.
Love that. I couldn't imagine living without a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I grew up as a kid eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches all my life. And when I heard that, many people suffer from food allergies and can't eat peanuts and can't eat peanut oil and can't eat, anything with peanuts, I was like that, as simple as an issue as that is, I'm like, that's terrible. Like, if you don't get to experience that in life, like, I grew up on that. Like, I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day of my life until probably recently.
Yes, and you probably still putting peanut butter in your protein shake.
Oh, all the time. Oh, yeah, I have to. Yeah,
right?
Peanut butter is an integral part of maintaining that protein uptake.
Absolutely. It is funny because when I was growing up, no one had food allergies around me. Like, I didn't know anyone with food allergies, and now it's almost impossible not to know someone that is affected by food allergies. Right. Yeah, so it just shows you how huge of an increase has been over the last years.
Yeah, and it shows how complex it is, because I'm sure there's a lot of factors that we're, you're trying to understand that are driving it. And it is definitely not like as simple as one thing is driving it. And that probably is making the expansion of it, or have more people are affected by it, I would imagine.
Absolutely. No, that's why it's a multifactorial problem, and you can't typically solve. That's one of the things we really, our focus and our approach is, we know there's very few examples of people being able to solve the most difficult problems, only one person. And that's why we've taken a team approach and very diverse team approach to tackle it, because sometimes someone comes in with something that leads to somebody else seeing this and comparing, and then that really catalyzes the research forward, the science forward. And so that model's been working very well for the last 10 years. And now we're really looking forward to the next 10 years.
Love it. And if we talk about your last 10 years and kind of the work that you have been doing, what are some of the successes that you've had? What are some of the breakthroughs you've had? I know you mentioned before, I think you've had 145 breakthroughs. What are some of the successes that you're seeing in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, no, great question. Great question. There's too many, but I would probably bucket them into three categories. The first question that we've been trying to address, we being the scientists who actually do the actual work. First one is, why do people develop food allergies? That's the first one. And on that, one of the biggest things I would say has been the discovery that the development of food allergies, it is actually a connection between the nervous and the immune system, and that it starts in the skin. And specifically, specific pathways, specific mechanism, understanding how it starts on the skin and how some sensory neurons that are on your skin, can actually detect allergens and activate other parts of your immune system and create memory. And so that then you can understand, so that then when you are exposed to the allergen through eating, now that substance is recognized. That has been very important because it now leads to new prevention strategies, not only therapies to solve, but prevention strategies. If you understand what is triggering early on, now you can approach in a different way. So the involvement of the nervous system, it's like opening another completely new window to be able to understand and tackle the disease. In terms of the second bucket would be what triggers the anaphylactic reaction, why people react quickly. Again, I would point to the nervous system here, but also the microbiome. A lot of the work that our investigators have been doing is, what is that diversity that you have in your gut and on the skin that is actually involved with either the first step of becoming a food allergic patient, or the second step where you develop the anaphylactic reaction. And so a lot of the work that our investigators have been doing is how specific bacteria in the gut can actually break down what you eat and convert it into something else. And that new product that it's converted to can now have different activations of different pathways that may lead to food allergies. So if you understand that, again, you can prevent and you can intervene. And finally, the other thing that have been very exciting is some people look like they should have food allergy, but they don't, right? And so they become tolerant. They have signatures that should be food allergic individuals, but they become tolerant. And so many of our investigators have been looking at what are the factors that contribute for people to overcome food allergies. And if we learn from that, now you open a new window of treatment. And for just one of the examples, our investigators have identified that there's some specific antibodies that are generated after you're getting desensitized. And those antibodies are good antibodies. So they fight off the effect of the bad antibodies that are associated with food allergies. So I think within those three spaces, why people develop food allergies, what triggers the anaphylactic reaction, and why people become tolerant, there's been a body of data and evidence that have been generated by our investigators that open new ways for prevention strategies and for therapeutic strategies.
That was very well explained for me to understand that. I will tell you, it makes a lot of sense, and kind of breaking it down to those three categories, studying the data, understanding that's the way to create a therapeutic response or a therapeutic discovery. I think that's phenomenal, and gives the audience a good understanding of the issue itself, and then how you're going about addressing it, and how you've already had many successes. And on that front, I know that you've mentioned a couple times that you started in 2016, which puts us at your 10-year anniversary, which is, congratulations, because that's a big milestone for especially a not-for-profit organization being around for that long and continuing to grow and thrive. I think it's awesome. Is Fozzy doing anything special to celebrate that 10-year anniversary?
Yes, I think that really the congratulations go to, again, our founders who really have the guts to roll up their sleeves and start this and continue to support this. And second, to our scientists who have been working really hard to tackle problems like we like to say, uncut corners, even if it's not the sexy science and all that, someone has to do it. And it's a responsibility of this group to do it. So very excited what all of this and then our internal team that are working so hard, wearing multiple hats every day to do everything that it's done by a small team to be respectful of our resources. Yes, very excited. Big celebration. If anyone wants to learn about food allergies, October 6th and October 7th are the date. It's going to be the event of the year, which we will do. We'll have a big summit at the Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT on October 6th and October 7th. And that will be, we're gonna have everyone that is involved in food allergies, all the way from the industry, from academia, government, business people, everyone talking about different aspects of food allergies, therapies that are coming, and food allergies and associated diseases. So if anyone is interested in learning about it, that is the event. Space is limited, so if anyone is interested, please sign up early. You can go to our website, which is foodallergyscience.org, and get more and register there. But it's going to be a great event. It's going to be a great event in addition to the big celebration that we'll be having. It's a lot of great information. We'll talk about things that we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Love it. That's awesome. That's a great way. That's a great way to, really show all the people that have been involved and really talk through all the success that you've had, as well as, the work that you're continuing to do, because, obviously the work never stops. So last item here, and this is completely random and out of place, but, me and Carlos have something in common, which as in our younger lives, which was a few years ago, we both skateboarded, which I found out through conversations. So Carlos, what is the favorite skateboard deck you've ever owned?
Wow. I would say two. Steve Caballero, Pablo Peralta would have been one. The other one, at some point, I had I think it was a Vision Psycho, which was more for a lot of freestyle tricks in the road. And the Santa Cruz were always great. But yes, reminisce here. It's not only fun, but it was actually, I think, one of the best experiences in my life that I still apply at work. It actually, I think I always say, where did you learn the most? No, it wasn't MIT or anything. I think it was actually more in the streets in Puerto Rico doing skateboarding, because I still apply the learnings from there of what does it take to fall many times and to develop persistence. And especially when tackling big problems, the fact that you need to be persistent, but know that you're not going to solve everything in one day. And it is actually by experimenting, like you and I used to do, right? Riding the skateboard and jumping and knowing you fall 20 times, but then you learn something from it and you go and get more information. Well, if I do this, I can land it. So I think that has been very helpful to my career as a scientist first, of really being able to take big problems, fragment them into little problems, and have the patience to know that that it seems impossible today, but if you continue chipping at it, you can get there. So that has been probably the most impactful experience in my life to do what we do right now.
I love it. Yeah. And a lot of people could take away from that. And I know in my days of skateboarding, the first skateboard I ever got, and this is one of those weird anecdotes in my life. My mom once told me, and she was working a lot at the time, she said, hey, if you do all your chores around the house over the summer, and I can't remember if I was in 4th or 5th grade. I was young. I was probably 10, 11. And she was like, if you do all the chores, if you mow the lawn, if you, paint the house, if you do everything you have to do over the summer, by the end of summer, I'll buy you a skateboard. And, I really always appreciated that my mom did that because it taught me the value of hard work. I really wanted something. I was like, I really, really want a skateboard. All my friends did it. It was like the thing to do in my neighborhood. And, we didn't grow up with a lot of financial means growing up, but she was like, I'll work hard to make sure that you can get a skateboard. So I did, and I worked hard, and it was one of those like just small life lessons. I had my first skateboard was a Birdhouse skateboard. Yeah. And I grew up playing Tony Hawk Pro Skaters. I still to this day, I forced my son to play it now, and he loves it. He plays it all the time now, and then both my kids, I got them skateboards, and they're doing it too. And they see it too. They're like, Dad, how did you learn how to do that? I'm like, well, thousands and thousands of times of hitting the pavement and falling. Eventually, I could ollie like 6 inches off the ground. It's like, how much persistence you have to put into that just to get to this like basic level. But it teaches you so much of that life lesson of like, all you got to do is like, you have to just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And then eventually it's like second nature. You can pick it up. I did it the other day. I did a heel flip, and my son's like, how did you just pick it up and do that? I'm like, because I did thousands as it. Like, all I did was sit in the yard and do it. Like, my brain just remembers how to do it. Like, it's just, that was my therapy was skateboarding the younger. But it also teaches a lot of life lessons.
I don't know if I could pull it up now. But
no, you gotta go out there and give it a try. Yeah, you have to.
Oh, that is great. That is great.
Yeah.
And it's great for your kids now to know that you did it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're like, and my kids are very much like, oh, I can beat you, Dad. I'm like, good. Like, that's how I want them to be. I want them to like show me up and like, because my kids are way better and smarter than I ever was, so I'm like, hey, you are gonna outshine me, and I want you to. And I want them to have that attitude of like, I want them to want to outshine me. And so now they're like, my son's in the garage with my skateboard. Like, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm like, good. Like that. You need that. Like, that's a very positive thing in life. So, very, very small anecdotes in life, but they go a long way in like showing you kind of why people do what they do and how people become successful in life. And it is the little things, and thousands of hours of persistence.
Yes. Yeah. Nothing comes easy.
Nothing comes easy. No. But the reward at the end is, once you show that trick to impress your wife, she's going to be like, wow, now I know why I married this guy.
That's what I need to do for my 26th anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. And I know my wife won't. She's going to be like, why are you doing that? And I'll be like, because it's fun, honey. So call to action. So, we talked a lot about how we got to today, a lot of the work you're doing, a lot of the successes you're having. How do you continue to be successful? How can the public help you? How can people get involved in Fozzy? You talked a little about getting involved in the event, but how else can the public help you as Fozzy?
Yeah, we are a nonprofit organization, right? And 100% of donations go straight to the research. And thanks to some of our benefactors that cover our operational expenses, then so that we are respectful for the donations that we receive, 100% goes to research. So that's number one, supporting a mission that really is transforming the lives of people with food allergies. That's number one. People can join events, so it can be donations, but also can join events. We have our 10-year anniversary coming. We do a monthly webinar where people come in. We have different discussions with experts in the field. And so people can do that or host an event. It's something that is very helpful where, you don't need to do a donation. You could actually just host an event to help people know more about Fozzy and learn more about it and help us in this mission. It takes a village to do what we're trying to do. So we know we're not going to solve it alone. So we need to hold hands with more leaders, people that are passionate, like our founders, who, what I always say, it's actually people that are courageous to turn adversity into action. That's what we're doing here. And so we'll welcome any opportunities to interact with people, host an event, donate, follow us in social media as we continue. But we depend on people that want to have an impact on this mission.
Love it. Love the work you're doing. Love this conversation today and all the information we got out there today. All the hard work you and the individuals behind the scenes are doing, all the work your founders have done to help support that mission and to help fund the organization, and all the work you're doing, Carlos, just being there, working hard day in and day out to help solve a real world issue is admirable. And a lot of the lessons you shared today are great lessons in leadership, great lessons in how we can be better professionals and how we can, help solve an issue, and no issue is too small. And this is a big issue that, they're working very, very hard to solve. So I really appreciate you, Carlos, spending the time with us today. And thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you, Brad. It's been a lot of fun and always thankful for the work you do. And this discussion has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Warriors, thank you for listening. Subscribe and meet us right back here for another episode of With Them Civic Warriors. And have a great day. Bye, everybody.